Aloha and welcome to this video on the full moon coming up Monday, January 17th, 2022. I am your astrologer, Tom Tenaglia, and let's dive right in here. So some of the core themes for this full moon, harmony with work and home life. So this is a chance to really connect between how you represent yourself in the external world and how you are at home, and really being able to truly have a harmony between who you are in the world and who you are at home. That can be anything from taking care of your house and your job to just who you are and how you're being who you are in those two areas of life. There's also a harmony with structure and nurture. So remembering to, wherever there is structure in your life, to also take the time and the space to nurture and feel into the emotions and have an experience of both. Not that it's necessarily bad or good structure or bad or good emotions, but to have a harmony between the structure and the nurturing. So, I had depending on the charts that I see, sometimes I'll see somebody who's more leaning in one direction or the other when this type of full moon energy is present. And it's important to remember both. Remember to breathe, during this time, for example. In addition, for some people who breathe a lot, to remember to work and to put structure in place. So it's wherever there might be out of harmony, bring that harmony in. And this includes loving ourselves, because with everything astrologically, there is the internal and the external. And whereas our home, often our external is often considered our career, so the areas of the astrology chart that are across from one another, I also want to consider the ourselves, our physical self, and the idea that we have ourselves, and then we also have the external of who we are, and we have a connection between, for example, living in our body, living in our home, living in our job, for example, those types of things. So this is a cycle. Lunations are not, so full moons are not point in time things per se. They form a cycle. And in my look ahead readings with an individual, I go over how the lunations and the cycle of that energy creates a wave for that person in that next year, and what they can do to ride that wave. This particular cycle is, how do we take care of who we are, take care of ourselves, take care of potentially your family, your home, just take care of the things that allow us then to create that space to be able to go back out into the world again. Okay, for example, with your job, with career, with work, that type of thing. So there's an internal and external correspondence with this particular lunation, looking at restoring a harmony with the work and the emotion and the nurturing, caring, loving aspect of things as well, so that we can take care of ourselves. So, for example, right, getting a good night's rest, getting to sleep, right? Because what's that going to do? That's going to help you nurture yourself. And then when you wake up refreshed the next morning, being able to be out in the world and giving it your best. And out in the world, in some charts can represent career, and some charts can represent family and just being a parent, for example. Okay. So this is making sure to nurture and take care of you. Be aware of emotional sensitivity and possibly a rigid response to emotions. So the lower expression of this energy, there's also a few other energies present at this time that could result in emotional sensitivity. And because of our desire and need in this energy to find structure, we want to make sure that we don't provide a rigid response to those fluid emotions. Okay. It's understanding where to be fluid, where to have structure, and not to kind of mix those two. If you take So if you think of this structure we're talking about is like the earth element, and this emotion is like the water element. And if you take earth, like dirt, and you take water and you put water in dirt, you get mud, right? So you don't want to necessarily have either extreme of these. There's to be a harmony between them. Okay, that's the lunation itself. Some things you can do during this energy is trust your gut. Make sure that you're hearing your gut, though, and that you're not filtering it through other things that might be getting in the way of you hearing truly what your gut is saying. This is not necessarily one of the more intuitive energies, but this full moon does have some intuition in it that could help. So I would say just make sure that you're actually hearing your gut during this. Be aware of any outbursts in emotional intensity. Just it's a cycle to start tracking. It's things that with any lunation, you want to start paying attention to how you respond to these, what correspondence you feel, because as we become aware of them, we can then rise above them. And that's the whole point of this channel. But I got to guide you toward becoming aware of these things. So during this time, if there's either extreme, then obviously just take a breath and slow down, and it'll be okay. Another energy that's kind of present along with this lunation, and something that this full moon is prompting us to look into, is a level of transformation to being done with the old. So if there's anything that is no longer serving you or hasn't been serving you for a while, and that letting go of it would prompt a transformation, this is an energy for that to occur. So if maybe somebody had set in motion something that they're not really sure about, then this energy comes and it becomes clear to go through that transformation. So sometimes people talk to me and they're in relationships that haven't been serving them for a while. And an energy like this, more often an eclipse, but this energy even can be pretty significant, comes along and it prompts them to go, okay, it's time to find another relationship, or it's time to be done with this marriage, or whatever the case is. It can go in either direction. Sometimes the flip side is also true. Sometimes people are single and they ask me, they're like, well, I don't want to be single anymore. And the same kind of transformational energy, it's like, okay, then go find a partner, right? So it's whatever you're meant to be done with, this energy can help. What's really cool about harmonizing this energy then is you can actually start building the structure and the organization that's necessary for that new you, having let go of the old. So in other words, the same structure that we're talking about harmonizing, if we have harmonized that and we've let go of the things that are no longer serving us, this then energy allows us to provide the structure and organization that we need to be able to move forward from that. It's fantastic energy. The idea here then would be to break larger goals into smaller pieces and remember to find a harmony with taking breaks. Okay, so you don't want to go to the extreme of just work either, but take breaks, and the take breaks to nurture and take care of you then help you to get more of the work done and whatnot. This is just a fantastic energy for continuing to move forward on goals and providing structure for things you might be putting off. So a couple of things to consider is have forgiveness where need be. That includes forgiving yourself. If there are things that you need to do to transform, it's okay to forgive you, and just feel into that. It's totally cool. Turn fear into faith. Turn fear into faith. Things may not be apparent as to how they're going to work out, but if you follow what is truly right for you in your path, it will. Trust your intuition, not the fear. Okay. Sometimes people think they're hearing their gut, they're hearing their intuition, and they're hearing the fear instead. So getting familiar with what does your gut actually feel like energetically, so that you can hear it and you can face the things on your path from that, as opposed to fear. It's always easier when you can clearly hear your gut message to follow that. And it takes time, it takes practice to hear it, and then to pay attention to it, and then to act on it. So, if you need time alone to think and to process, totally okay. It can help. It can help us release what we need to be free of to take those practical steps forward. It is okay to do that. So here's the other way you can then take action with this is you actually want to plan for success and be prepared for the action, because the action can actually be spontaneous. There's an energy right behind this full moon, right after it, that will prompt action. And you need to plan to direct it. So here's the thing. If the energy is going to occur anyway, and it's going to prompt action, you might want to know what that action is going to be. So interestingly enough, the structural aspect of this full moon is so helpful for creating that plan, creating that organization, creating that structure, so that when the action kick, so to speak, comes, you know what action you're doing. The downside of this, or the flip side of this, is if you don't have that plan, the action can be very erratic. It's kind of like, if you think of a light bulb, it radiates light in many different directions. But if you think of a laser, it's actually amplifying light in one direction. And it's a much stronger laser, can cut through metal and whatnot. So you're gonna get the electricity to turn on some form of light. Okay. The question is, are you going to have that light go in many different places like a light bulb, or are you going to have a plan and a structure to focus that energy like a laser? And so that's really the idea here. You do want to, we're actually starting a new cycle shortly after this full moon, where there'll be an energy focused on practical transformation. So there's a lot of ideas have been accruing in the last, I won't get into the timing of all that per se, but that now this next new cycle that will carry us for a while is going to call upon practical transformation. And behind that even then is a time where deep thinking, freedom, service to others, and actually taking responsible and deliberate actions. So maybe in the past, right before this cycle, we were potentially a little bit more erratic or a little bit more spontaneous. Here's where things start to come into actual deliberate actions, deliberate steps to take. So you truly do want to have that plan, because when the action kick comes from the energy, you want to have a direction to set. And when the new cycle of deliberate action starts to take form, you can then ride that wave. You can rise above your chart. That's the whole point of this channel, to actually ride that wave that's coming from that next cycle. So if you don't do that, if you don't actually have that plan, don't know which way you're going, this can just bring a lot of frustration, a lot of trouble with trying to figure out which way to go, or it may feel like things are stuck. And this is not just a lunation energy. This is an energy that's going to carry us for a period of time. So you want to take advantage of the lunation energy to be free of the things you need to be free of, to create that plan for success, to have that structure. And then right after that full moon, lunation is just a newer full moon. Right after that full moon, there's an energy to help bring us into action, so you can ride that action step. And then that action step will get you the momentum that you need, okay, to have that practical transformation as that new cycle picks on right behind it, okay? So I'm not just talking about, in these videos, we're not just talking about the actual energy of the full moon just in and of itself. That's what basically the first slide was to some degree. But these remaining 3 slides here is looking at how do we use that energy, ride that wave of that energy, and tie it into the other energetic cycles that are going on. And also what I talked about in the video on the energy for 2022. So I'll leave a link I'll leave a link in the description below for the video on the cycles of 2022. There's 4 cycles primarily that are occurring that will be extremely helpful for you to know, because this lays on top of that. This then gets into more detail as to a particular phase of that cycle is effectively what this particular lunation is doing. And I'll also leave a link to scheduling a look ahead reading with me. Because what we then do is once we look at the bigger picture cycles in your life for the year, then we look at the lunations and we figure out the actual way, what those mile markers are, what those steps are to get you to where it is that you need to be on your path. Okay, so I'll leave both those links in the description below. If you have any questions or comments about this, please do put them below in the comments section. If you like this video and would like to see more like it, please subscribe. And as always, aloha, hui ho. I will talk with you again soon. Take care.